Well, welcome back to another 6th grade visual arts drawing project session. You probably recognize what you're looking at right here. This is what we have been drawing from all this time, and we're just trying to make a faithful duplication of that hot rod car into our own personalized art project, which is what we have going here right now. And so without a whole lot of delay, all we have really done over the course of these, I think this is our 9th day on the project, and we're getting close to being able to wrap this up in 10 to 11 days or 10 to 11 sessions. We simply looked at the information that was on the drawing, or the reference drawing right here, and we've simply gone one square at a time and transferred that information onto the legitimate drawing, the real drawing. And all along the way we've done observation, where we look at things. We've measured many times and multiplied it times 2. Our scale is 2 to 1. For every one of these we express it as 2 on here. Then the expression, of course, doing the drawing part, and then we compare it and look at it and try to see if what we have drawn and what we are attempting to draw even match each other. And if the answer is, yeah, pretty close, then we leave it alone. So in the last couple of sessions, we've actually been coloring on this project now. And with that in mind, I think we're simply just going to set this off to the side, and we're going to begin some of the work on our coloring. So at this point, I think it's probably a good idea to just go ahead and address the black areas, which are these tires are the largest black areas, and beyond that there might be some outlining to do. Otherwise, really, black is very destructive to the beauty of your colors. It can smear into them very easily. Furthermore, it soaks up the colors around it and deadens their optic intensity, or their optical intensity. And so that can be used to your advantage if that's what you want it to do. However, we're looking for kind of bright colors and good contrast and a good definition between each part of the car and the next part. So I'm going to sharpen up my black colored pencil there a little bit. It's had a lot of action here in this last couple of units. Get out my slip sheet so I don't smear stuff all over the place. And I'm just going to simply start coloring here. I think I'll color my lug nuts, the bolts that hold the tire on. I think I'll also color those black as well. And I hope that your project is coming along nicely. If you're keeping up with the pace of the project the way I am doing it, and I do kind of work pretty quick, I think, sometimes, but it should only take us, between 10 to 12 days. Some projects are a little bit more complex than others, and progress is made more slowly. This drawing project is accessible to most students, and progress is made relatively quickly on it. So once we get this part done with the tires and a little bit of outlining and maybe figuring out what color to color in my initial on the door, then we're going to start picking out one good color for the background, and we're going to set it up in a checkerboard pattern. And that will really make this curved surface of the car, the image of the car is very curvy, and it will cause that image to really pop out against that geometric background. And so I'm kind of looking forward to when we get started on that. And if the physical classroom, slightly different, the pace of the progress on the project actually goes a little bit faster. What I have found, since we have been doing video lesson here, and since this is will be a makeup lesson in the future for some people, it might even be a lesson which is used in the classroom as well. We have been drawing this particular car for a number of years in the 6th grade projects for drawing, and so this is the hope is that if we are back in the physical classroom, that your experience here in the E lesson is pretty much almost the same as it would be in the physical classroom. And that's what I'm trying to recreate here with you all. And I do the projects with the kids many times, the students, excuse me, and just to see what kind of problems you'll encounter. And sometimes you can come up with some serious problems. I encounter them too when I do the projects with the students. So it's all a learning process. I'm learning what problems you might encounter. You are learning how to make artwork. And there's a lot of work in making artwork, turns out. Okay, I'm going to move over here so I can color to my stronger angle. So we are getting to the end of the drawing unit, and at the end of all units we take some time to evaluate our project, meaning we grade the project. We also take some time to take a quiz, and also the work habits that are associated with your project as well. So there's always a work habits grade. Every day in the physical classroom, you're being graded every day in the physical classroom on your work habits, and whether you're making progress or you're just not making progress, or in fact maybe interrupting the progress of other people. And that's a real problem in the physical classroom. Visual art is a little less structured than some other classes, and so it works best for the students who are able to self-direct their own work. So a student who just comes in and gets their materials out and does the work and then puts that away and leaves the classroom almost always will finish the projects. People who spend their time visiting or talking about the project rather than doing it, then they will find that it takes a very long time in their mind. And what will also furthermore happen is there'll be about 1/3 of the class that never finishes a project, simply because they just don't have the self-discipline to get it done. And that's about not just about making artwork, that's about life in general. And so, you know, if you come in during your class time, the studio time, studio is where you make things, and you're focused on your work, and you get your self busy with it pretty quickly, and then you quickly put it away and you make good use of your time, you will be able to finish the projects. In fact, in this particular project, I think this is the 9th session. They usually take between, usually 10 to 12 sessions. So in this case, we should have this done in the next 1 or 2 sessions completely. And then it would be ready for grading. It would be the end of the unit, so we would take a quiz, an open note quiz, if you've been wise enough to take the notes. If you haven't, those notes are blocked so that you can't see them once I publish the quiz. So my advice to you is when we're getting toward the end of a unit, start making sure that you check your notes and you make sure that they're not just complete but they're accurate as well, and that they're legible so that you can read them. And if you don't know something, the time to double check it is before the notes video is blocked, because otherwise there wouldn't be any point in giving a quiz, would there? So I'm interested in how much you also know about what we have been learning during the drawing unit, and also what you can do with that knowledge. How do you apply it so that you can demonstrate? So some people are really good at the application part, and some people are really good at the what I guess I'd call the knowledge part, which is knowing how the projects are done, knowing how to do the different types of drawing, and knowing how to paint and do design work. Then there are other people who they don't know it very well, but they can do it instinctively, and that's just talent. However, if you can succeed on the quizzes, if the notes that I gave you in the lecture are open note quizzes, I don't see how you can not succeed on the quizzes and demonstrate some knowledge. Okay, I'm going to color in my black bolts right there that are holding this fine tire on. Okay, and this one too. I may be so... If I'm brave enough, I might just outline that hub right here in the middle of all this. You gotta be careful when you're doing things like this. I do think I'll put a dot in the middle of all of that. I think that just looks good. Okay, so that looks pretty good there. So we'll just go on to the big tire in the back. That should take a little while. And sometimes progress is not made super fast. Sometimes even the coloring. And this is where people get all, they get all impatient when they're getting close to the end of the project. And that is precisely when you have to relax and make your way through it. That's when you gotta relax and just enjoy the fact that you're closing in on the finish line, that you can actually see what is left that you need to get done. Okay, so I'm also going to put a hub in the middle of all of that. There we go. Okay, very good. Okay, let's see. Let's go ahead and I did have a dot in the middle of all that, but now I'm just going to use the whole circle there. There's the bolt, or the lug nut, it's called. Okay, same thing. So just coloring can be calming. But when you've got a deadline to hit, it can also be frustrating because you got to color fast and good, and it's hard to do that. And there's a lesson in there about trying to do things fast and good, or just steady, kind of steady as she goes kind of setup is sometimes a little bit better to work with. Sometimes just by doing that, if you have a little bit of planning and you just stick to the steady as you're going approach here, you sometimes come out with additional time. I've had students who are just good workers, and it doesn't happen every class, but it happens often enough that they get done with a project a day or so before it's due. And in that case, we just give them something and some enrichment work to do. Or I allow them to perhaps read or do work from another class if they have already completed their work in my class through good use of time. Now if they've done it through sloppy work habits and just rushing through something that takes everybody else 10 days, well, that's different. I'll have to talk to them about that. I'll find something to tell them to go and work on. That looks fantastic. Okay, here we go. There's a lot of black colored pencil in here. So some of the car can take longer than other parts. These large areas like this can take a long time, it seems like, but each strike of the pencil gets you a little bit closer to being done. So I think what most people have found out is that the drawing portion of the projects takes less time than the coloring portion of the projects, and that's true. So that's a good observation if you've noticed that. And also it gives you plenty of time to see what is actually happening with the project and to appreciate the fact that even as the instructor and the teacher of the visual arts class, I got to keep working steady. Now I'm talking to you while I am actually doing the work and doing the instruction and demonstration. However, if I were by myself, I don't know that I could work a great deal more quickly than this. and still get good results. That's the problem. Sure, you can rush, but there's a limit to how good you can do things. So working fast and good, that's an advanced skill. Working good at a reasonable pace, that's probably a good plan for a middle schooler. Okay, so I'll have to address my opacity as I go through here, and I'm kind of coloring against my natural tendency right now, but it is coming out nicely. So to go back and dress it up as we go, and just keep it coming. And then I'm already thinking ahead to the next step, which is to pick out a color for my background. And I'm going to try to pick out a color that I've got a lot of, so that when I get to the, I don't end up with just a really short pencil, and then trying to grip that is always a nightmare. But I'm thinking orange, the opposite of orange is some sort of blue, and the opposite of red is some sort of green. So some sort of blue-green would be a good idea. Now that's pointing right to the aqua for that, and the aqua green, that is. And I've been thinking about that, and it does look good against the orange, especially it looks like the sunset and the water on the Gulf of Mexico. It's always what that makes me think about. So I may think about that. There's also any sort of green or something that's not even featured in the car, like peach, would be a good, could be a good selection. So, you know, when you're thinking about colors, you want to kind of concentrate on colors that show up really brightly against other colors. So, for instance, if you were to color your car black, and then you used a dark colored background for it, well, the car would disappear. If you colored the car black and the tires black and all the other decorations black, and then maybe violet in the background, the whole thing just disappears. And so that's one of the reasons I restrict your use of black. It can just really cause you some problems. But it's, you know, useful when you are using it with accuracy and using it in a sparing manner. And I think that that's exactly what we're doing with this project, because this project's coming along. Let's go back and address some opacity issues here now. You sure don't want to see little parts of the paper showing through tire. Now sometimes old cars have got white wall tires on them, so they've got a big broad stripe that goes around them. When I was a kid, muscle cars a lot of times would have a red stripe that would go around the tire, a very thin red stripe. Those were really cool looking. If you ever see old Hot Wheels toys, little miniature cars, they a lot of times have got that red stripe on the tires. So being a child from that era, you know, we were always looking at tires and the grills and the paint jobs on cars a lot as a child. We were motor enthusiasts, car enthusiasts, even at a young age. My father raced go-karts, and was pretty good at that, and he would also build them since he was a welder. So a lot of people were always over working on go-karts. Also had a cousin who raced motorcycles, and so we were frequently at motorcycle races and go-kart races when I was a child. And that's probably when I was about 3 and 4 years old, I guess. I remember when I was 4 years old having to go to the hospital after a go-kart race because some girl tried to, I guess I took her bucket away from her, and I put it on my head, and I was wearing it like a helmet. And that girl about tore my head off trying to get her bucket off, and so they thought she broke my nose or something, and so they called an ambulance, and that was my first experience with going to the hospital that I could recall. So the moral of the story is, don't take that girl's bucket, and then if you do, don't put it on your head. Let her have her bucket back. She was mad, and I was sad after all that. Okay. Alright, progress being made. So we just got to keep at it. And I think we probably got maybe 1.5 to 2 more sessions before this whole thing is done. But I'll tell you what, my coloring technique has gotten a lot better, a lot faster over the course of this project. So it's I hope you're noticing the same thing about your own work, that it's actually improved. The more that you draw, the better you get, just like anything. So let's just stay focused, and this project and this unit, in fact, will all be over shortly. And then it won't be long till we're on to the next unit. Whatever that may be. I guess that would be painting. In our rules and expectations video, it talked about all our units and how you get your grades in these units. And so, yeah, it's very much just like the regular classroom, except we're doing it over a video format right now. Okay, I'm going to move around to here. I'm looking pretty good here, although I think I'm going to have to sharpen the colored pencil. And I've only had a few colored pencil breaks over the course of this entire project and the 8th grade project too. And so I've been able to get a 24-pack of Crayola colored pencils to go through a design project for the 6th, 7th, and the 8th graders, and also to get through a drawing project. So my theory is that our 24-pack of Crayola pencils can handle a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade design and drawing unit classes if they're just not sharpened to death, out of existence, or abused and broken constantly. So, you know, you got to have some love and respect for your equipment materials, and it'll take care of you. And if you're mean and wicked to it, it will let you down every time. So don't abuse the colored pencils, or the paint brushes for that matter either, man. Okay, I'm hoping that this is going to be very accurate, and that you're enjoying this process. It's the focus and the long attention span that we're developing here that really allows you to enjoy the act of making artwork. People who are very impulsive and have almost no patience, they are simply not suited for these kind of long attention span projects or process. People that are fascinated by reading books a lot of times do well in art because of reading an actual book. You know, you've got to have some commitment to that. It's a long process, especially when you start at the very beginning of a book and it's hundreds of pages away before you get to the finish line. So this process is, I suppose, much like that. So I think that people who read a lot probably can relate to making a complicated project more than people who are impulsive and want to see results immediately. And you can get those results immediately, and we do. So it's just a process. Here's a process about to get done right there. And that ring, circle that up. Now I'm going to go back and address my opacity issues that I may have. Maybe do a little bit of outlining here. And start thinking about a color for the background. See how it looks. Boy, that looks pretty good on the camera and the projection screen there. So you just got to keep aiming for the blank spots there. And it's going around. Alright, fantastic. Now I'm going to do a little detail work here. In my smoke, it's always good to have some, little indications that the smoke is, kind of puffing up there as it pours out from underneath the tire of a car. Okay, it's getting very, very puffly. Churning, twisting in the smoke. If you've ever been in a car that had to stomp on the gas, you might have put some smoke in the air like this, for sure. Okay, so we're going to also go to another part of the drawing that could use some outlining, I believe. Let's see, this should be there. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to do some outlining. I'm going to get out my ruler here because some of these are straight lines, and so that's easy. I'm going to find that straight line and I'm going to bold it. That's good. I'm going to find this straight line. I'm going to bold it, but I'm not going to draw through my latches. Better get it up there close. There we go. And that only goes to right there, see. So, but probably, yeah, that's where it stops at. But those two lines, I'm going to leave them like that. This gets bolded. Let's see, that's probably maybe between the pipes. It'll also kind of seal down that pencil lead so it's not all smudgy. Okay, probably better hit this one right here too. So that looks pretty good. Maybe this on our steering wheel could be dealt with black, a little bit of it. Same thing here. So see, it's really good for making the details of things pop out, but if you get all crazy with it and use it on everything, then you know, you have diminished its ability to help you do detail work and define what it is you're attempting to express to people. So you just really gotta, you know, and a black car is really neat in real life, but a drawing of a black car is very difficult to, you know, make look appropriate. Okay, so I think we're going to just leave that like it is right there. Let's see, what else could we do? We could, on my three-dimensional portion of my letter B, that might be good. So see, I don't have it up against any other black, and so nothing is disappearing in this case. Okay. Okay, I like that. Okay, now let's see, what else here? I've got just a little bit of this back of the car there. I'm not really sure what to color that in as, so, but it should probably, I guess, be gray of some sort on the inside. It's supposed to represent some sort of metal, the inside of the car, I suppose. So gray's usually a good neutral choice to do something like this with. Just to set it off so that we know that the seat cushion is the brown leather part and the gray is hopefully the metal interior. I'm hoping that's how it reads. See, when you're the person that made the drawing, you know what it is, but when you're the person that's just looking at it, sometimes they don't. Okay, that's good. That'll work, I believe. I believe that will be fine. Okay, so we're closing in on getting some things done here. I'm going to go with this mahogany color in my letter B. And this is, make sure it's mahogany, it sure is. And I may put it up there also by my numeral 4 as well on the little flag. And that would let's kind of tie it all together a little bit. People used to ask me when I was younger what my favorite color was, and there always was red for the longest time. But, you know, as I've gotten older, I think I really like green. But red really stands out, and maybe it was just because I thought I needed to stand out, you know, and so I liked red at the time. I also liked purple a lot as a child. One of my favorite football teams as a child was the Minnesota Vikings, and they were purple, violet and yellow. And I really was a big fan. And they had some success. They struggled too. That's one way to learn about life, is watching football. Okay, this is looking fantastic here, and I do believe I will be putting up on the flag also this, that way all of these colors are reflected in the flag, which is probably a good idea, I would think. But I'm going to have to sharpen it up. Alright, we're getting somewhere. This project is looking fantastic, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're succeeding with the same level of enthusiasm and success that I'm experiencing here. And if you are, then that's going to make for a good project. And at least when you're done with it, you'll know you did the best you could do on it, and in the time you had. And our time is starting to run out, not just in this session, but in the unit itself on drawing. And sometimes people don't think we spend enough time doing it, but when I talk to other teachers, they say, what? I mean, our 10 days at a time, at least 10 days to get a project done. And they think I'm crazy to make anybody work that long on one thing. And I may be. But all I know is it makes for good artwork, and that's what we're trying to create. Besides a long attention span focus. That does look pretty good. I wonder if I should... No, I'm just going to stick with this color. When you've got a color in your hand sometimes, that's a good indication you should keep using it. Okay. All right. Now, let's take a look at what we have created here. That looks pretty good, if you ask me. I may do a little bit of outlining out with some black again up in here above at the back of the car. See where these two portions of it meet? Could be some confusion right there. I'm going to take care of that for our dear viewer, whoever that may be, and also here I think I perceive the need to put that marking in there. Same one here. Maybe even on the flag as well, on what divides things. Okay, let's see what we got. That was pretty good. Okay, so I'm to the point now where I can start thinking about a color that I want to use in the background. And you know, we said this aqua green earlier, and I do have a lot of that aqua green here. And so I think I'm just going to pick one color and I'm going to go with it. And in this case, it's going to be aqua green. And so I'm going to work my way down this first column first, and I'm tagging it so you know what I'm going to do. And there's the end of the period. But we're going to go color, and we're going to skip, and we're going to use this first column first, and then we're going to go color, and then we're going to skip, and we're going to have this color down here. So you should have a square with whatever color you choose to go in there. It just has to show up good against your car, whatever color that is. And so we go color, skip, color, skip, color. And then that allows us, when we get that all done, to come up here, and then we're going to go color, skip, color again. Okay? So what we're going to do by working first down the left side, we set that column up so that as we go across the rows, we don't get our checkerboard pattern scrambled up. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to go ahead and kind of start coloring a little bit, and just show you what we're trying to do here, and that's going to be it for this session. We finished the car in this session. We selected a color for the background, and I started getting my coloring going here in the background. We want to keep it inside the squares accurately, and you want full opacity as well. So a lot of times people will go through the entire project like this and tag it so that they know what squares to do. Sometimes that takes more time than even just getting going on it and making it happen. So it's all about how do you plan your work, how do you get your work done, and if you do plan it out, did you achieve your plan? And if you didn't, why not? And did the results come out the way that you thought they would when you first started intending to make the artwork itself? So, but this is a long process here too. The one color, wear that one color pencil down. So you need to make sure it's one that's got a lot of life left in it. Okay, it's going to have to be a pretty long colored pencil, and you're going to have to treat it with some level of respect. If you break the tip off constantly, what's going to happen is that you'll never make it to the finish line with that one color. Now sometimes people will use more than one color in the background, but it gets really complicated trying to keep the pattern from getting mixed up. But that's once we get done with all the one color in a checkerboard pattern, many times people will go back if they have time to do it, and the project is not due really soon, then sometimes they will go back and finish it out. Well, there's the phone. I guess I need to get off of here. I'll see you next time. Have a good day.